Hi everybody, Dr. Zach here. Welcome to Cultivating Healthy Habits. This week in the email I wanted to shoot out a video and have a little conversation about simplicity versus complexity. And this is following a conversation I had with a friend at church yesterday talking about the concept of paralysis of analysis. And you've probably heard this, but it basically means that oftentimes we hold off on doing something that's important, something that we feel like we're supposed to do, because we don't have it all figured out. We don't know all the answers. It's something that maybe we're uncertain about, uncharted waters. And so instead of just going in and starting and expecting that things are going to open up and we'll figure out what to do as we go, we tend to hold off until we've got it all figured out. In fact, I had a mentor of mine one time that told me, he said, you know what, Zach, if anything is worth doing, it's worth doing wrong. And that wasn't so that I would be complacent and sloppy in what I did. It was because I tended to want to have things perfected before I presented. And that's not going to happen. But as we take and we do that step into, then we start seeing things come together and improvement happens, provision happens. Everything tends to start working out that way. And so as we are looking at this, is that our lens that we look through life tends to make us either one of those that's willing to just jump in and do things, or one that tends to have that paralysis of analysis. And I think it comes down to are the lenses that we're looking through, do we see our world as complex, as really difficult to understand, that we just don't have the answers and so we don't even know where to begin to navigate stuff? Or do we see it as pretty simple? It's a simple thing. It may not be easy, but it's simple, and there's just some basic fundamental truths that if we follow, we start seeing things come together. Well, it's interesting is that over 40 years of me learning how to try to be as healthy as possible, to coach other people towards gaining their health back and living a life full of purpose and passion, where they're not limited by health problems, by mindset issues, by anything that's going to interfere with that. I've come to recognize that it's the simple things. You've heard it said, keep it simple, stupid. And there really is some truth to that. And it's not that there isn't some complexity out there, but the answer really is in the simple. Let me give you an example. I was watching a webinar last week about longevity. It's called the Longevity Summit. Experts from all over the world that have studied the blue zones. They've studied how do we take and increase our life expectancy and our quality of life and all these different things that we can be doing. And it gets into cellular health, mitochondrial health, all these different supplements and everything that we need so that we can actually take and get our bodies to live longer, to be more productive, more effective. And it was interesting to me is that throughout this webinar, they kept interviewing people from all over the world, from Italy, from Sardinia, from Greece, from the Middle East, from Asia. And they were interviewing these people that were in their 80s, 90s, some that were over 100. And they were asking them questions about, what's the secret? What do you think the issue was that helped you to figure out how to live a long and productive life? And what's interesting is that not one of them said it was getting more information about their mitochondria, learning about supplementation and which one is going to be most beneficial for helping them to resist oxidative stress and the other things that take place in life. Not one of them mentioned any kind of intellectual understanding that helped them become these people that have defied aging. But here's what they said, is that, hey, you know what? We don't have processed food here. So we ate real food. In fact, we grew our own food. We farmed for our own food. We harvested our own food, and we ate what was available to us. We didn't have stuff that was available year-round, so we had to take and eat seasonally and apply these things. We had to work hard. We moved. We were constantly going. We weren't sitting at a desk all day long. But guess what? We didn't have a gym membership either. We did a lot of walking. We did a lot of working. We did a lot of heavy activity. So while it was simple activity, it may not have been easy. It took work. It was sweat that took place. They talked about community, that they got together, that they enjoyed each other, that they laughed, that there was a community aspect to what they did, and it was growing together. It was feeding their emotions and their soul at the same time that their body was being attended to. interesting, one of the most impactful things that they found is that it had to do with circadian rhythms. And that they got up right before or right at the same time that the sun rose, and they got some exposure to the sun right away. And they didn't have sunscreens, and they didn't have sunglasses. They just got out there and they got exposure to the sun. Research is now showing us that that affects the hormone cycles that take place in our body that affect everything about our health, about whether we're in a stress state or whether we're in a calm state, how our body metabolizes. All of these things are affected by circadian rhythm. And that they worked hard. So when it was dark, they didn't have all this artificial light that was available to them. So they would go to bed. And then they would sleep. And then they would get up the next morning with the sunshine. And so they had this rhythm of life. Simple. They didn't have alarm clocks. They didn't sit there and Netflix binge all night long on their latest show. They had a calm, peaceful, simple life. And it may not have been easy because they had some hardships. They didn't have air conditioning like we do and all of the advances in technology that we have. But they had this simplicity. And they didn't get caught up in the paralysis of analysis. They just did what they had. They lived according to what their world made available to them. And so I think that's something that we all need to hear. That while we're waiting for all the answers, we're looking for the answers. We're in this place of paralysis going, oh, I know I need to make some healthy habit changes. Not sure what those are yet because I haven't figured it out yet. I probably need to watch that webinar you did and, Kate, and learn more stuff. No. It's not about learning stuff. In fact, it's unlearning. We've got too much information available to us, so we try to figure it all out and process all this noise that comes in when we need to get back to being simple. We need to get up with the sun. Spend some time just letting that sun work on our hormones. Take some time and just generate some peace in our lives with gratitude. Your breathing can make a difference on your hormones. And so taking and doing some box breathing or some controlled breathing just to bring yourself back to a place of balance. And these things can take, 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes in the morning, and they set your mind. They set your emotions. They set your physiology up. So there's going to be a place of healing and regeneration all day long instead of a place of fight or flight where you're constantly feeling like you're battling what's going on. So with that said, it's the simple stuff. Start today with some simple habits like waking up and spending time in the sunshine. Spending some time in gratitude. Even writing a little note to somebody saying, man, I appreciate you. Remember when you did this? I appreciate you. Share your gratitude with other people. Shoot them a text if you need to do it that way. But start pursuing the simple things. One tiny little habit at a time. And if you need help with that, we've got a class that's coming up. And this is a great class that I've taught several times in the past called Cultivating Healthy Habits. And I'm going to be doing it at City Point Church, Saturday, August 2nd. It's going to go from 9 a.m. till noon. And you're going to get some basic information so that you can realize how simple this process of creating healthy habits is and cultivating those so that you get success in those. And have some strategies so that you can take and you can start looking at where in your life do you need to do that and start taking steps towards making that happen. It's going to be a great program. It's no cost. Everybody's welcome to come. I'll include a link so that you can take and register if that's something that you're interested in. And I hope to see you there. But in the meantime, start today with the simple stuff. Just move, breathe, smile, laugh, have community. You don't have to make it complex because it really is the simple stuff. With that said, God bless you and make today amazing.